Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to High School Hoops with your hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Steger.
All right, welcome to High School Hoops, episode 111. Wow. We're getting there, Coach.
We're continually adding on. I was not part of recent podcasts.
I know you were invited, though. You were invited.
I was so invited, but I got a lot going on.
He does. So we had John Wheeler on talking about the Princeton offense, and Jake and I just talked about it. So I invited him, but he teaches elementary and I teach high school, so he was a little overswamped.
I am still overswamped, but it is
so am I. All right, so before we jump into this, let's give a big shout out to our two sponsors. First of all, teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Go check it out. The website rocks. Matt did such a good job. By the time this podcast gets launched, it will be up and new, and you probably missed the old price, but oh well, you better get in before I jack the prices again. So a little bit of everything for everybody. Go over and check it out, teachhoops.com. It's one-stop shopping for basketball coaches. Also, go over and check out Dr. Dish. I'm calling it the pandemic shooting machine, man. Nothing better.
It does.
It's great. I mean, I go buy, you get $350 off, mention High School Hoops for Coach Unplugged. And yeah. All right. So what are we talking about today, Coach?
So we're going to be starting a 3-part series. A while ago, before that, we kind of broke down some of the key offenses. And then you went on a huge tangent about the Princeton offense, which is great.
It's bird walking, man. I always bird walk. You know, I bird walk. It's like,
no, but that's the whole point is utilize your resources and,
right.
John's presentations were fantastic. So it's only better for our listeners to continue to hear from other people and so forth. And as you texted me and asked me about topics, I kind of want to branch off in regards to zone defense. My whole philosophy on zone defense.
So tell the audience what I wanted to talk about this week.
You really wanted to talk about our state association and Black Lives Matter, but we're going to take a couple weeks and just let you take.
So here's what happened. And I'm going to tag the WIA in this. So if they're listening, the odds that they're listening is very small. But I wanted to go on a tirade, and he's making me calm down about, Black Lives Matter and the representation of the WIA, which is Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association, and how they represent our kids of color, which I believe they don't do a great job of, from their executive board to their board of controls to all the way down. I don't believe kids in Kenosha and Racine and Madison and Milwaukee are represented. So just like we want teachers of color in front of the students, we should have representatives on that board, not 1 out of 11, but 3 or 4 out of 11 at least. Okay, there's my tirade. That let me get it out a little bit. The probability they hear this is close to 0, but if they do, I'd love to talk to you about that. Maybe you could have you on. Maybe you could tell us exactly. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. I'm done.
All right. So in the next 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about probably the 3 most used zone defenses, which are the 2-3, which will be today. The following week will be the 3-2 zone, and then the last will be the 1-3-1. and it's going to be kind of a process of the pros and the why behind each of the zone defenses, then kind of the disadvantages, and then the variations that you can use within that. I know Steve in particular has used the 1-3-1 variations. I know I've used multiple variations within the 3-2. And so what you'll learn is that through this discussion, you're going to learn that zone defenses can be basically altered based on the team that you have and what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think they're good in the sense that they can change. I was just talking to a coach before I came on with you about they're really good about changing pace of play.
Yep, and I have that down in my notes.
They are really good. No matter which one we talk about over the next 3 weeks, they are so good about like messing up rhythm. You know,
right, and so I think the one thing that we talk about too is just because it's a odd or an odd front or a even front, there are just some things that we can do with zones that are just an advantage in itself. It controls tempo. It forces team to make adjustments. It makes it difficult for the opponent to scout. So no matter what zone you choose, having that multiple defensive aspect just creates havoc, and it just creates an opportunity for you against your opponent.
I think it does too. All right, so what are we doing? Are we doing advantages or disadvantages first?
So we're going to start with the why of the 2-3 zone. Do you want to go with the why, or I can go with the why?
You go with the why. I got a bunch of – I mean, I'm looking over to the side here because I got a bunch of things I've written down for advantages and disadvantages. But
I just think the 2-3 is really about protecting the paint or the interior of the court. So in general, I think the why behind that is definitely one of the reasons why most teams use it is to protect the interior of the court. So that's one thing
that's definitely a pro. I think the 2-3 is the best as far as protecting people from. I think it's a pro because it limits fouls.
Yep, I had that down. Foul trouble protection is one of the keys to a 2-3 zone.
I think it is too. And what we were talking about in tempo control too. I think it takes away the rim a lot in the sense that you have 3 in the bottom. So I think that's a big one. I think from a transition standpoint, it might be the best of the 3
to control tempo.
Yeah, in the sense that
depending how you run it.
Yeah, depending on how you run it, and I think it forces them to get back and protect the paint more. In the sense that you initially have 3 on the bottom. So I think those are all really good. I think those are all really good. I mean, I was just going to get on to a disadvantage. You got any more advantages?
So the other advantage is when you play a team that is extremely selfish and shot crazy, I think they struggle against a 2-3 zone.
They do, well, this
requires when you play a team that has really good and they've worked on their rotations and you're really good at running the 2-3 zone, and you're a team that is fast tempo or you're shot crazy or you got players that are very selfish. And we've watched some other people's film from other states lately about just watching some of how these teams play. You could totally use that defense as your advantage for them to take poor shots.
Right, and this goes into a disadvantage in the sense that you tend to give up more threes.
Yeah.
In the 2-3. So that disadvantage can be so this is good leeway into a good transition into the disadvantages, but it's an advantage when they're horrible. They don't take as good of shots and they're not as good at 3-pointers. It's a disadvantage for you. Like we'd have a hard time against some teams in our league running it just because they would light us up from 3. So I think that's a good transition into a disadvantage. I think the disadvantage of the 2-3 is I think there's more gaps there for them to get in, and there's more gaps for them to be able to shoot from the outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Another disadvantage is, and I don't know if this is, I would put this in both categories. Actually, I was going to say from a being behind and being able to trap. You can trap in the corners out of a 2-3. It's just I think the rotations are a little bit harder. So I think that would be a disadvantage if you're behind and you have to come match up, or you have to do something out of the 2-3. 2-3 tends to be more pack line-ish.
Right. So I agree. So one of the disadvantages of the 2-3 is that if you're behind in a game, it doesn't have that flexibility to change tempo, increase tempo if it's going to be one of your core defenses that you're going to use all the time.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, for sure. I going back to an advantage too, I think it's one of the easier ones to initially teach. As far as some of the drops and things like that, I think that's why a lot of the youth coaches do it, because they just say, now their drops aren't very, high advanced and things like that. So from that standpoint, it's relatively easy to get into it, but to get good drops and to get really good at it against better teams is a little bit harder.
Right. One other issue that I have with the 2-3, I sometimes feel like, and I've had teams, maybe you haven't, but probably have, sometimes it causes them to play lackadaisical and slow. A 2-3.
Yes, it's like a lazy man's defense. It's like, yes. I'm not going to, yes.
It's how you teach it and how you teach the rotations. I think a lot of times people will throw in a 2-3 and not work on the rotations of making it very effective, making sure that the high post is covered. I wrote down here the show and drop. So a lot of times a really good 2-3 will use that side wing player that plays on the bottom to or to show and then to drop. A lot of times we don't teach that, and then there's openings and so forth. So I think that if you really want to be effective, you have to really work on the rotations and getting your team in any zone to move as a unit. It's just not good enough in a zone defense to say, we're going to just throw the 2-3 in to change it up. If you're going to use it, you got to work on some of the rotations and how you're going to do things.
I agree. I mean, and it's how you sell it. Like, you can't sell it like it's a rest. You can't sell it like we're not going to play D. You got to sell it like it's everything else. Yeah, you have anything else on this one?
Variations.
Go ahead. You jump into the variations.
I think the one thing that the 2-3 can be really effective is trapping in the post and the backside. Because if you get the backside corner, then you are leaving that other person that's guarding the two top, the opposite side, it's got to cover 2. But that's a really difficult skip pass for that team to make. So when you talk about trapping concepts and you're playing a good team with good post interior play and you're running a 2-3, you can trap in the short corner in the post because you're allowing that one person to cover 2, and it's an easy rotation out. So that's one variation if you want to, is to trap in the post.
I like that. That's true. It's like, because I think it's more that everyone's just kind of down there to protect.
Right.
Yeah, I like
you rotate and you dive down. The only person that's got to cover more than one right now is that backside defender, which is a hard pass to make.
Which is, especially for high school.
If they're not a good shooting team, right, and they're interior-wise, you're forcing them to make a skip pass, close out, and then have them make a jump shot. I mean, it's all about who you play and so forth, but I think that variation and doubling in the post using the 2-3 zone could be effective for high school basketball teams for sure.
I do too. All right. Anything else, Coach?
I have no question of the day. I'm not prepared.
It's okay. We don't need a question of the day because I already went on a question of the day. What's wrong with the WIA? There's a question of the day. I answered it earlier in the podcast.
And we're authentic as always. You guys.
I'm just telling you. It's like whatever. I'd probably never get a call ever in the state of Wisconsin. You got to do what's right. You got to do what's right. You got to do what's right. All right. Thanks, Coach. Bye.
You got it. Bye.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Make sure you subscribe and like no matter where you listen. Apple, Spotify. We love those 5-star reviews. Make sure you also go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.